Hello Internet. So Luke Smith made a video requesting people to convince him to use Emacs. And this is my take on it. I know, very surprisingly after I just said that. You can see what I type exactly via this widget down here. I didn't put it all the way in the bottom so it doesn't interfere with YouTube's progress bar and those items down there, which won't go away if you pause the video or skip forward or backwards individual frames. By the way, you can do this via period and comma. Somehow not everyone knows this, but virtually any video player can do this. So Emacs isn't currently running. We can check by issuing this command. And I'm not cheating via background processes and attaching to a server either. So let's open up Emacs. And oh no, I just opened up Emacs. I don't have any open buffers. So how do I find my files quickly? Easy. Use bookmarks. Let's just jump to some, I don't know, let's jump to this one. And what you will notice is that it didn't go to the beginning of the file. It goes to the specific point in the file where I set the bookmark to be. And in this case, it's right where begin document is in this LaTeX file. Let's make this a bit smaller so it's easier to look at. And what you will notice is that these headlines are in bigger text than the usual text. This makes it quite easy to visualize the structure of the document. And if we go to some mathy stuff, which I'm sure I'll find here right here, you will notice that those subscripts and superscripts are visible, so you can easily see what part of a formula belongs to a subscript or a superscript, which makes formulas really easy to read. You can also render those math formulas right in Emacs, and they will look just like they will look in the PDF that LaTeX produces. But I don't like that, I don't use that. I just like when you can see the subscripts and the superscripts. Something else you will notice is that those lines don't exceed the window. So like this is called a window, this is a different window, and the entire thing is called a frame. So this line here, 245, doesn't exceed the window, even though it's very long. This is due to visual line mode. And visual line mode or visual mode just breaks the lines according to where words end and begin. And you can still use this as normal lines like you see them, even though it technically is all single lines. So if I kill this line, only this visual line is killed. I can kill the next visual line and the next one and the next one. And let's say let's kill another line break. And let's say I want to paste this somewhere, but I want to also do this here. Like I can just repeat this 3 times and kill it as well. And now I want to paste them, or as it's called in Emacs language, yank those lines somewhere. I can simply go there, let's say here, and yank the first one and then yank the second one, or like the other way around. You get the idea. The point here being that you don't lose stuff you killed or cut it as it's usually called. I'm having a difficult time keeping those usual words and the Emacs lingo apart. This is definitely a great advantage of the Emacs kill ring. It actually uses a similar approach for undo history. So if you in a normal program undo something with the intention of redoing it and then do something else accidentally, you suddenly lost that redo branch. This can't happen due to how undo and redo works in Emacs, because just like you have a kill ring, you have an undo ring, and you can just undo and redo stuff over and over again, and you won't lose any branches. But if you just want to move stuff around, you actually don't often get into the situation where you have to remember which parts you killed and are going to yank at which points, because you can just open the same buffer, a buffer being basically the contents of a file as you edit it. You can just open the same buffer in different windows, just like I'm doing right here. So I can switch between those, and I got my point at different points. So point is the cursor basically. So if I want to kill those next, let's say 5 lines, or this line as well, and I can just yank it over here, and it works like this. And I can navigate those files individually, those windows individually. I don't have to worry about moving the point in the different window. So this is quite handy if you want to move stuff around. So let's say we did our editing and we want to commit our changes because we're using Git. We don't actually have to use the command line, we can use maggot. And I can just invoke it like this, and it'll ask me whether I want to save the file. I say yes, and we can see the unchanged stages, look at them like this. And then we can stage them by blocks. We can select text and stage only that text, or we can stage whole hunks, I think. Yeah, it's called hunks. So let's stage this hunk, and we actually have different, we can look at the stage changes, we can look at the unstaged changes, we can commit part of it and just say mess up the document a bit, and this is our commit message. We can just commit it like this, Control C, and we can push it up to origin like this. And it'll work in the background, like Emacs is responsive while Git is doing its work and is pushing the changes to the server, to the remote repository. So now we changed the file, committed part of it, and we want to build it, of course. And depending on how we want to do this, we can use like a make file or a build script. Nowadays I mostly use a make file, but this is quite an old document, and in this one I use a build script. So let's just issue this command right here, because we can issue commands in Emacs and it'll execute the command and display the output if there is any output, or it'll just say that there is no output. So because this is quite a lot of output, we will see a new buffer opened, and this is just the shell output buffer as it says here, or shell command output, and it'll show you everything that would be printed on a terminal. Let's just kill this buffer and issue a command with a slightly smaller output. So let's say list all the shell files. List all the shell files like this. And because the output is way smaller, we get the result in the mini buffer below, so it won't bother us with a new buffer. If the output is really small, it automatically decides the right thing to do. But of course we don't need to bother with any shell scripts. If we want to build LaTeX code, we can just use Emacs for that. So let's just make a change right here, and we want to see the new document. We can press Ctrl C, save the file, say yes to LaTeX, and it'll automatically build the file. As it's now built, we can open it, just same key combination, it automatically figures out the right thing to do. If it has to run LaTeX or run Bible or whatever, it'll automatically figure out the right next step, and in the end, if the document is fully built, it'll automatically suggest opening the document in your default PDF viewer. So this is quite handy. So as you just saw with me running commands, Emacs knows exactly where the files you're editing are, so it knows the folders, and we can actually take a look at that folder like this. And this is where we were, and this is a full file browser. Like we can create new folders right here. We can create new files and edit them and save them and kill them, and they are here. And this is a full file browser. It's really neat. And we can actually do quite a lot of stuff we can't do with normal file browsers. Like, let's say we have some jerk send us some files which are named not how we like it. So let's say we always want to have .html files, not HTML files, or we always want to have .jpeg files, not JPG files, or the other way around, whichever way we prefer. So let's just make a new folder which I call A because I'm so creative. And let's just say he sent us like 400 files which are 1 through 400.jpg. And we have, like, of course, these are empty text files because I just used the touch command, but let's imagine they are pictures, doesn't really matter. And of course, they could have all kinds of names. By the way, you can change how these file names are ordered if you don't like how they are ordered right here. It is Emacs, you can configure it however you like it. So let's say we want to change those file names. And the great thing about Emacs is that it's a text editor. And this right here is text to Emacs. It's not like those graphical things in a file browser like Nautilus or something like that. This is text, which means we can edit it like text. Well, actually right now we can't because this buffer is write protected. It'll still execute some of the commands, like if we want to kill this line we can do so. It isn't actually removed from the buffer, but it is still copied to the clipboard, like you can see here, and it's still in the kill ring, so we can use it as usual, but the text doesn't vanish. This is usual behavior for read-only buffers in Emacs. So now let's make this buffer writable. We can do this by pressing Ctrl+X, Ctrl+Q, and now we can write to it. We can edit it like normal text, at least this name column. We can't like edit the access column, or unfortunately we can't even edit the date column. I would really like that. I would really like Direct to do this, or Dirt, or Direct, or however you want to pronounce it. I just pronounce it Direct for some reason. So let's make a text replacement. Let's say we replace every period JPG by period JPEG, and simply press the according key combination. It actually already suggests it. I could just slam enter and it'll do it, but to show you how it's done, like I'll enter JPG and replace by JPEG. And if we don't know what we can do, because Emacs is awesome and it shows us the documentation, we can just hit the question mark and it'll show you in a different buffer what you can do with it. And of course you know what you can do with it if you used it once, and what you can do with it is just hit the exclamation mark and it'll replace all the occurrences, which in this case are 400 of course. And we can just so now you might say, hey, great, we edited this text, but does it actually change stuff on my hard drive? And damn well it does. We can just, like it didn't right now. We can just hit Ctrl+C, Ctrl+C, and now it's changed. And I can actually show you by running the ls command in here. And if you don't believe it, I can open up a terminal and now issue a ll command or ls command or whatever you like right here, and it'll show you that it actually changed it. So this is quite awesome that you can edit your directory contents in your text editor and treat them like text. But Direct isn't actually limited to your local machine. you can use direct to go to a different machine via SSH. Of course, you can use bookmarks for this. So if I want to go to my Raspberry, I can just do it like this, and it'll open up direct on my Raspberry. Pretty neat, eh? Let's go to org mode. So I'll just go to one window right here and open up some org file of mine. And what you can do in org mode really awesomely is tables. And I'll show you. Let's just go to this file and right here. This is a table of mine, and this table is entirely computed in org mode. So it has different input columns like your normal LibreOffice Calc or Excel if you're into that kind of thing. Table, spreadsheet, programming thingy does. But it can actually do this in org mode as well. So what you'll notice is that this line right in the bottom here has a bunch of weird looking symbols. And these weird looking symbols actually make that most of this table is created automatically. And it'll do like this row like here, and it'll calculate all the sums. So this is really neat. I think it's mostly neat because first of all it's text, so you can use it with Git and see all the changes over time in your tables, but also because this is data you will never ever lose. If there is some kind of major change in Office suites, you will lose your documents that you use in like LibreOffice or Microsoft Word or any Microsoft Office thing actually. But if you use org mode, your files are text files, and all the dependent parts of it, like this right-hand column right here, those actually are written to your text file. And even if Emacs dies, even if all software we use today dies, you still have this data. And this data is sufficient for displaying purposes. So you can still read your data. Of course, the new text editor you're using then won't be able to use this line down the bottom to compute all the dependent fields, but you will still be able to view your data. These numbers right here, let's just make a new line. I actually don't usually compute in my head. Instead, I have a mini calculator in Emacs set up in such a way that it automatically computes these numbers and pastes them. So I can go like 27 times 583 and hit enter, and it'll automatically compute this. And I know this table now looks a bit messed up, but we can just hit like tab and it'll fix it. And the way this works is that I have one command invoking a calculator, and I can just do my calculations right here, and it'll print it in decimal, hexadecimal, octal, and binary. And I have a different command set up which automatically lets make a different calculation. You can actually use like all kinds of crazy stuff. You can even use complex numbers. You can enter the sign of something and stuff like that. So this has quite neat math built in. Let's just add another square root here, and it'll print the result. And the other command which I used before automatically pastes this result at the point in the document where point, so the cursor, was before the command was invoked. Of course, while you enter the numbers, point is put to the mini buffer, but it can cope with this. But if you use a big table like this, you will probably get pretty confused as to in which line you currently are. Luckily, there are several modes actually which can help you with this. I use HL line mode, and it'll just highlight the current line. And it'll do this in quite a distinct color. You can of course configure this color, and there are modes which use different colors and different means of highlighting, but this can help you get along quite easily. And of course you can, if you used it enough, you can just disable it. Another great thing about Emacs is that you have the documentation on hand all the time within Emacs. So you can just go like Control H, R, and open up the Emacs manual. Or you can just like say Control H, M, and open up the documentation of the current mode. And I know this table looks messed up right now. This is because of the kind of line breaking I use, because I always use tables only in such a way that they can be displayed all at once. So my line mode choice is problematic if I have tables and then have two small windows. Yeah, I can see that definitely. But everything has disadvantages. This manual, of course, can be navigated via links, so you can just jump to... Oh, a great thing, I don't know whether I have shown this. So let's say I want to jump right here. And what I can do is invoke a command like this and just go right there. And I don't have to take the mouse and click there or use a million commands to get there. I can just pick out any character or any word or any line or whatever I want to jump to and jump there with very few keystrokes. So the way this works is I invoke a command. I can actually show this to you because Emacs has a key combination which can show you what a key combination does. So let's press Ctrl H K, and this is the key combination I use to go there. And you can see that it uses here in this line AV go to word 1 and then takes a character. So I'll invoke this command via Control period, and let's say I want to jump to this currently. I'll press then C, and it'll show me one or several letters I have to enter to get there. In this case it's just H, and then I am there. And I can actually go to a different window in this. So let's say I want to go right here. I can do the same thing and go right there. And it really is quick. You can get to anything you can see really quickly. Of course, this also shows you the documentation of the command. But if you want to look at the documentation of a function without having a key assigned to it, or we don't know the key combination for it, we can do this as well. So this command here is AV go to word 1, and let's kill this. And actually let's make this a bearable thing to look at again. And we can just issue Control HF, and then we can use auto-completion right here, and we can see those functions. And let's pick a different one. Let's go to this one, and we can look at its documentation. It'll automatically open up a new buffer if there isn't a buffer of a fitting size. And it'll show you the documentation for this command. And of course, those are links. You can use those links and navigate it. And this is done quite nicely. You can, this is a different thing. You can customize variables. And what this allows you to do is to make Emacs the way you want it to be. And let's not forget the reason why Emacs is said to be a great operating system but lacks a decent text editor. And that reason is that Emacs isn't meant to be used like it comes by default. Emacs is meant to be tailored to you by you, such that it is a great operating system which does exactly the things you want to do, and then you can also configure it to be an awesome text editor for you to use, which behaves exactly as you want it to. And this, in my opinion, is the most awesome thing about Emacs. Okay, bye.